We'll start the first slideshow, which is just going to be basically a rundown of some of Denis' most recent work.
It's a wonderful life, it's a wonderful life. Traversing tears from the heavens. My heart is a melodram in fact. Satellite by echoes of pain 24/7, 24/7. I dream, I smile, I walk, I cry. I dream, I smile, I walk, I cry. You might not say that it's a wonderful world, and it's a wonderful life, and it's a wonderful day, just as yesterday. But I won't complain. No, I won't complain. Oh, my good days are far gone. They'll surely come back one more. So I won't complain. No, no. My mind is a mirror, a reflection only known to me. And for those who hate me, the more you hate me, the more you help me. And those who love me, the more you love me, the more you hurt me. And when I go to bed in the night, I see some children in the light, fighting unknown shadows behind my mother's back. And although I don't understand my dreams, I know somewhere there's hope, there's hope, there's hope somewhere, there's hope. So I dream, I smile, I walk, I cry. I dream, I smile, I walk, I cry. You might not say that it's a wonderful world, and it's a wonderful life, and it's a wonderful day, just as yesterday. But I won't complain. I won't complain. No, 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 no. I won't complain. No, I won't complain. Oh, my good days are far gone. They'll surely come back one more. So I won't complain. Oh, my good days are far gone. They will surely come back one more. So I won't complain.
Welcome and thank you for coming today to honor Denis Joseph Roussel. It is an important day when we stop to bear witness to a person's life and to reflect on our hope, our wonder, and our collected grief. We are gathered into this space, which is made sacred at this time of loss, with the spirit and love of friendship you bring to say goodbye to Denis. On behalf of the family, thank you for being here for this important moment. We are in support of Denis' wife, Rachel, his daughters, Eliza, Enora, and his son, Lucian, his parents, Joseph and Madeline Roussel, his brother, Stefan, and his sister, Cecile, as well as a large extended Wilson family and many friends internationally. It is wonderful to see you all here, to feel the love for Denis, and to remember and celebrate his short but well-lived life. Let's pause and let everything go, each in our own way, to send a blessing to Denis, bring his spirit and memories into the present, and send him our love. Denis was 41, in the prime of his life, in the midst of truly good, fulfilling years. He was enjoying the honestly earned fruits of his endeavors and creativity. He still had much he wanted to do, especially in raising his family and expanding his artistic creativity. He died too soon. This makes it difficult for those he left behind. But it's important for all of us to remember everything he accomplished and gave us in the short time he was here. His death also reminds us of the need to live each day to the fullest, to follow our passions and make the most of our time here. Denis Joseph Roussel was born to Joseph and Madeline Roussel in Nantes, France, on March 5th, 1976. He was the middle of 3 children, Stefan and Cecile. I had the opportunity to speak to Denis' parents about his childhood. They remember that he had a happy childhood and always did well in school. They fondly described their summers spent as a family in the mountains of France, the Pyrenees, the Jura, the Alps, all where Denis first was introduced to the mountains. These experiences became an essential touchstone in Denis' life, one that he revisited and recreated with his own family here in the mountains of Colorado. The experiences resonated so powerfully because they exemplified what was most important to him: family, nature, beauty. Denis struggled finding his path after high school and chose to study chemistry. Being heavily influenced by his older brother Stefan, he spent 2 years at l'École Nationale Supérieure de Chimie de Rennes. I speak a little Spanish, but no French. And he had the opportunity to study in the United States through an exchange program with the University of Northern Iowa, where he met Rachel in a physics class. A spark was kindled. Friendship gradually grew into love. Their relationship endured through a transatlantic separation, complex immigration laws, and other complications. After graduation, Rachel traveled to France on a tourist visa, not knowing the future of their relationship. After spending 3 months together in Nantes, they returned to the US, resolved to remain together, and married in Waterloo, Iowa on May 8, 2000. That physics class where Rachel and Denis met was another turning point in Denis' future, not only for romantic reasons, but because Denis developed a friendship with a professor, Dr. Kent McComber, and his wife, Carol, who was also a photographer and shared Denis' love of art. They would become part of a network of connections in both art and science that would influence and support Denis' development in the years to come. Although chemical engineer was his chosen area of education, Denis' passion in photography intensified. After marrying, Denis and Rachel moved to Iowa City, where Denis pursued an MA and an MFA in photography at the University of Iowa. If you know anything about Iowa, you know the scenery cannot compete with that of France. But Denis found beauty in his surroundings, especially in his new daughter, Eliza Jane Madeline, who was born 2003. For a glimpse into Denis' life at this stage, we will now pause to view a short video created by Rachel's brother, Ben, who was studying film at the University of Iowa at the time.
Hey, I'm home.
Great,
Hi,
you're here
baby.
early.
Yeah.
You can help me with the cooking.
Sure. Hey Liza, comment ça va ma petite chérie? T'as passé une bonne journée chez Amanda? T'as fait plein de bêtises, je suis sûr. Hein?
Oh, hey, Denis, Thomas called when I was at the store.
What do you want?
He left a message on the answering machine.
Okay.
Salut Denis. Désolé d'avoir raté ton anniversaire. Tu sais, Elisa n'est jamais allée en France. Mais si vous avez des billets pas chers cet été, eh bien venez donc nous voir. Allez, j'embrasse tout le monde.
Left a message on the answering machine.
Eh bien venez donc nous voir.
Une petite fille toute de rouge vêtue se hâtait dans la forêt feuillue. Surgissant des broussailles au détour d'un sentier, un loup affamé vint lui parler. Petit chaperon rouge, où vas-tu, bel enfant? Porter une galette à ma mère grand. Laisse-moi t'accompagner, je t'en prie. Non, va-t'en, si je suis en retard, je serai puni. C'est joli les femmes.
After completing his MFA, Denis and the family then moved back to France as they awaited the arrival of their second daughter, Enora Seraphine. Enora was born in 2005 in Nantes, Denis' hometown. The growing family lived with Denis' parents for nearly a year as they searched for work and a home of their own. Denis' non-traditional science and art background made it difficult for him to find work in France, but made him an ideal candidate for a position as an ophthalmic photographer in Louisville, Colorado. It was a difficult decision to leave friends and family in France, but the opportunities were elsewhere, and the mountains of Colorado were calling. Denis' French accent and caring attention charmed all the patients at the clinic. And yet, while he appreciated the work, the job was not as fulfilling as the opportunity to pursue his passion in fine art photography and to raise and nurture his children. The family's decision for Denis to leave his full-time job was very difficult, and it tells a lot about their shared values and Denis' character. It was another turning point in Denis' life. He became a stay-at-home dad in 2008, and at the same time began sharing his talents as a part-time professor at the Community College of Aurora and later at Metro State University at Denver. The last period of Denis' life was perhaps his most fulfilling and accomplished. The family grew again when Lucien Sequoia was born in 2014. Denis reveled in fatherhood, especially imaginative play, outdoor adventures, and cheering at soccer games. Denis' artistic career began to blossom during this period. He continued his experimentation in alternative photographic processes and built a large body of work. To help him perfect his technique, Denis embarked on a project to take one wet plate collodion image each day for a year, documenting his progress in a blog. Denis' work has been shown in a number of venues and exhibits, but perhaps his most emblematic work was Redeem, Reuse, Transcend, shown both at the Center for Fine Art Photography in Fort Collins and at the University of Northern Iowa. This expansive series used multiple alternative processes, including wet plate collodion, cyanotype, and lumen printing. Denis printed images on paperboard boxes and recycled jars, and he even created fragile and ephemeral images made from juice extracted from composted vegetables. I started by saying Denis left us too soon, in the prime of his life, enjoying the fruits of his endeavors and creativity. This chronology is not complete without the sad and sudden end. It was only 3 months ago, after experiencing a new abdominal pain, that Denis was first diagnosed with cancer. By the time it was found, the cancer had already metastasized to the liver and multiple lymph nodes. It would be another month before doctors knew what kind of cancer this was. Cholangiocarcinoma, or bile duct cancer, a rare and very aggressive cancer, one that has no screening test and no cure once metastasized. On July 12th, Denis died as he wanted, at home, surrounded by family. At this time, Denis' sister-in-law, Becky Hawbecker, will read a passage selected by the family. This passage was first read at Rachel and Denis' wedding ceremony and has become more meaningful after the last turbulent months.
I know that a few of Rachel's high school friends are here, and I want to note that I'm reading this from a copy of a book that was presented to Rachel on her high school graduation from their shared English teacher, Sue Saveride, and it's the very copy that was read at their wedding. It's On Love from the Prophet by Khalil Gibran. When love beckons to you, follow him. Though his ways are steep and hard, and when his wings enfold you, yield to him, though the sword hidden among his pinions may wound you. For even as he ascends to your height and caresses your tenderest branches that quiver in the sun, so shall he descend to your roots and shake them in their clinging to the earth. All these things shall love do unto you, that you may know the secrets of your heart, and in that knowledge become a fragment of life's heart. But if in your fear you would seek only love's peace and love's pleasure, then it's better for you that you cover your nakedness and pass out of love's threshing floor into a seasonless world where you shall laugh, but not all your laughter, and you shall weep, but not all of your tears. Love gives naught but itself, and takes naught but from itself. Love possesses not, nor would it be possessed, for love is sufficient unto love. And think not you can direct the course of love, for love, if it finds you worthy, directs your course. To melt and be like the running brook that sings its melody to the night, to know the pain of too much tenderness, to be wounded by your own understanding of love and to bleed willingly and joyfully, to wake at dawn with a winged heart and give thanks for another day of loving, to rest at the noon hour and meditate love's ecstasy, to return home at eventide with gratitude, and then to sleep with a prayer for the beloved in your heart and sing a song of praise upon your lips.
Beautiful. Next, I invite Sophie Daniel, who will read a French poem selected by Denis' parents.
Je vais vous lire un poème choisi par Madeleine et Joseph pour Denis. L'autre côté du chemin. La mort n'est rien, je suis seulement passé dans la pièce à côté. Je suis moi, vous êtes vous. Ce que j'étais pour vous, je le suis toujours. Donnez-moi le nom que vous m'avez toujours donné. Parlez-moi comme vous l'avez toujours fait. N'employez pas un ton différent, ne prenez pas un air solennel ou triste. Continuez à rire de ce qui nous faisait rire ensemble. Priez, souriez, pensez à moi, priez pour moi. Que mon nom soit prononcé à la maison comme il l'a toujours été, sans emphase d'aucune sorte, sans une trace d'ombre. La vie signifie tout ce qu'elle a toujours été. Le fil n'est pas coupé. Pourquoi serais-je hors de vos pensées ? Simplement parce que je suis hors de votre vue. Je ne suis pas loin, juste de l'autre côté du chemin. Vous voyez, tout est bien.
I would also like to read you a poem from Fernando Pessoa, which tells a story about sight, the look at things. Si après ma mort, vous voulez écrire ma biographie, rien de plus simple. Elle n'a que 2 dates, celle de ma venue au monde et celle de ma mort. Entre une chose et l'autre, tous les jours sont à moi. Je n'ai jamais eu de désir que je ne puisse réaliser parce que je n'ai jamais perdu la vue. Même entendre n'a jamais été pour moi qu'un accompagnement de voir. J'ai compris que les choses sont réelles et toutes différentes les unes des autres. J'ai compris ça avec les yeux, jamais avec la pensée. Comprendre ça avec la pensée serait les trouver toutes semblables. Un jour, le sommeil m'a pris comme n'importe quel enfant. J'ai fermé les yeux et je me suis endormi. À part ça, j'ai été l'unique poète de la nature. And the same poem in English, yeah.
If after I die, they should want to write my biography, there's nothing simpler. I've just 2 dates, of my birth and of my death. In between the one thing and the other, all the days are mine. I never had a desire I could not fulfill because I never went blind. Even hearing was to me never more than an accompaniment of seeing. I understood that things are real and all different from each other. I understood it with the eyes, never with thinking. To understand it with thinking would be to find them all equal. One day I felt sleepy like a child. I closed my eyes and slept. And by the way, I was only nature's poet.
The philosopher George Santayana wrote, "When a man's life is over, it remains true that he was one sort of man and not another. A man who understands himself under the form of eternity knows the quality that eternally belongs to him and knows that he cannot wholly die, even if he would, for when the moment of his life is over, the truth of his life remains." Although we know the chronology of Denis' life, what is the truth of that remains? There is the truth of adventure. He learned as a young boy the beauty and solitude of nature. Nature comforted him. Denis loved experiencing the beauty of nature with his friends and family. He traveled through remote mountain locations by motorcycle to capture the majestic views, hiked and mountain biked regularly, canoed the boundary waters with his in-laws, and always carried the beauty of his native France in his heart. After the family moved back to the US, his parents would come for extensive visits in the summer. Denis would take great effort to plan multi-week family adventures to discover the US. Places like the Canyonlands, Yellowstone, Arches, Sequoia National Monument, and the Grand Canyon. One of the most memorable trips was the time they took a Jeep adventure in the San Juan Mountains around Ouray, Colorado. The kids squealed in delight over water crossings and as the Jeep approached the edge of a precipice. Denis loved camping and being in the mountains. He especially loved taking his kids hiking each weekend. As they grew older, he would tell stories as they hiked, helping to distract them and trick them into walking longer and more difficult paths. In addition to being in nature, Denis loved exploring art museums, art galleries, and other artists' studios. It was there that he found inspiration and revelations. As a teacher, Denis sought to make photography an adventure for his students. His devotion to and high expectation of his students was a hallmark of his teaching. He greatly impacted the lives of his students, and they were devoted and appreciative of his guidance and knowledge. And then there was the truth of his artistry and creativity. The Museum of Contemporary Photography wrote about Denis. Trained as a chemist photographer, Denis holds scientific practice as a mirror to artistic inquiry. And according to Rachel, he was always finding intersections between his art and science. He had a passion for fine art photography and is known for his work in alternative processes. His work has been shown in many individual and group exhibitions around the country and internationally. Works are also included in permanent collections at the University of Northern Iowa and the Museum of Contemporary Photography in Chicago. If you have viewed his multi-year project focusing on recycling and composting, you recognize his ability to make the mundane beautiful. Denis loved his life, and yet there was always a small void present, being so far from his native France. At his MFA thesis show, Denis exhibited a series he titled "The Place I Live In, the Place That Lives in Me," that showed diptychs of his home in Coralville, Iowa, alongside photos of his hometown, Nantes. And then there was the truth of family and friends. George Santayana, the poet, essayist, and philosopher, also said in The Life of Reason, "The family is one of nature's masterpieces." A relentless spirit longing for adventure and creativity, he married and had 3 beautiful children. The deep and abiding affection of his wife, Rachel, and of his children testifies to this truth that better than any other word can say. Denis had many faithful friends that he kept close despite the vast distances that separated them. Thomas, Fabian, Anne-Laure, and Tanguy. 3 of these friends and their spouses were able to make the long journey to Colorado and were alongside him during his last days. He so valued his family that when he knew the end was near, Denis was clear that he wanted to have as much quality time as possible together at home. His sister, brother, and parents all traveled to Broomfield to be at his side. After suffering complications from cancer, Denis slipped from this earth on July 12, 2017. These are the truths about Denis. Yes, they are eternal. Still, they don't express the real truth of the man, the spirit that will be so sorely missed, but that lives through his inextinguishable spirit. He was even more rich, more complex than just these truths of adventure, artistry, creativity, and family. For those who knew him and loved him the best, he was a seeker of nature, knowledge, and imagination. Though we shall miss him, his ability to find beauty in everything, the meandering paths he took us on that led to memorable adventures, the savor he brought to us, will all stay with us. And we are glad that he lived and was the man that he was. At this time, Denis' family has prepared a slideshow showcasing many joyful memories of Denis' life.
And no more shall we part. It will no longer be necessary. And no more will I say, dear heart, I am alone.
contracts are drawn up, the ring is locked upon the finger, and never again will my letters start. Sadly, you're in the depths of a winter, and no more shall we part. All the hatchets have been buried now, and all of the birds will sing to your beautiful heart upon the bough, and no more shall we part. Your chain of command has been silenced now, and all of those birds would have sung to your beautiful heart anyhow. Lord, stay by me. Don't go down. I'll never be free if I'm not free now. Lord, stay by me, and don't go down. I never was free. What are you talking about? For no more shall we part, and no more shall we part.
Now we would like to invite Denis' family and friends to approach the front and share their memories and stories with us to help remember and pay tribute to Denis.
So I wanted to read a few messages. The first one from our sister Cécile. Bonjour à tous. Il me semble difficile de résumer la vie de Denis. Il m'est impossible d'exprimer ce qu'il représente pour moi ou l'amour que je lui porte.
Hi everyone. It seems so difficult to capture Denis' life. It's equally difficult for me to share what Denis means to me or the love I feel for him.
Deux choses me semblent importantes, cela dit. La première, il a fait le choix de vivre sa passion, la photographie, et c'est pour moi une incroyable source d'inspiration. La deuxième, il y a 3 semaines, Denis m'a dit ces mots qui resteront gravés en moi et qui sont une forme d'héritage, profiter de la vie.
Okay. Having said that, there are 2 very important things I can say. First, Denis chose to live his passion, photography, and it really is a source of inspiration for me. Second, 3 weeks ago, Denis told me those words that will stay on my mind for the rest of my life and are a kind of legacy. Make every day count.
Je remercie du fond du cœur Rachel, Eliza et Nora, Lulu, mes parents, Madeleine et Joseph. Ils ont permis à Denis de mourir entouré des siens à la maison. Denis, tu es dans mon cœur pour toujours. Merci.
From the bottom of my heart, I thank Rachel, Eliza, Enora, and Lulu, my parents, Madeleine and Joseph. Thanks to them, Denis was able to die at home, surrounded by his loved ones. Denis, you are forever in my heart. Thank you.
Then I'd like to share a short message, not a short message, but an important message by Thomas. So Thomas was one of his best friends in France. It's in French, sorry for this. Denis, mon Dédé, 25 ans que nos destins se sont croisés, en seconde au lycée La Collinière. Ensemble, on a découvert le monde et c'est possible. Quels souvenirs, nos cheveux longs et toutes ces expériences. On devinait déjà ton âme d'artiste. Tu as fait des choix de vie forts et courageux, guidés par tes passions. Je t'admire pour ça. Notre amitié est restée forte et belle, malgré cet océan entre nous, comme une évidence. Tu nous as appris qu'on pouvait trouver la beauté partout. Ce sera plus difficile sans ton regard. Je t'aime comme un frère. Tu peux compter sur moi pour être présent du mieux possible, aux côtés de Rachel, Zaza, Nono et Lulu. Repose en paix et salut Jimmy de ma part. Salut, brother. Finally, a message I wrote to Denis. Je vous remercie tous d'être venus pour fêter Denis, car il s'agit d'une fête. Tristesse et joie mêlées. Carpe diem, c'est ce qu'il aurait voulu.
I thank you all warm-heartedly for being here today to celebrate Denis. And yes, it is a celebration. Sorrow and happiness together, carpe diem, that's what he would have liked.
C'est un bonheur de vous voir réunis dans ce lieu, un lieu qui représentait tant pour lui. C'est bon et c'est juste d'être ici. Merci. La photographie était ce qui l'habitait et l'animait.
It is a joy to see you all gathered in this place, a place that meant so much to him. It is good and it is right to be here. Thank you. Photography was what inhabited Denis, what animated him.
La photographie l'animait, y compris dans ces dernières semaines qui ont été si dures. Il n'a jamais été aussi présent et vivant que lorsqu'il partageait avec nous, avec ses anciens étudiants, ses amis, sa passion pour son art. Denis, tu laisses en ce monde des empreintes de lumière.
It animated him, including in these weeks that were so hard. He was never so present and alive as when he shared his passion for his art with us, his former students, his friends. Denis, in this world, you have left traces of light.
Mais pourquoi es-tu parti? Pourquoi cette maladie? Pourquoi toi? Il n'y a pas une réponse à cette question. La vie est magnifique, mais le grand cycle de la vie a parfois des ratés. De gros ratés. Tu nous quittes beaucoup trop tôt, point.
But why were you taken? Why this illness? Why you? There is no one to answer this question. There's no one answer to this question. Life is a beautiful thing, but the big cycle of life sometimes has misses, enormous misses. You leave us way too soon, period.
Je regarde ma fille, Nine, et je regrette déjà que tu ne puisses pas lui ouvrir les yeux sur le monde comme toi l'aurais fait. Je regarde ta famille, Rachel, Eliza, Nora et Lucien. Je sais comme tu leur manques. Je sais la colère et l'injustice que tu ressentais à devoir les quitter si tôt. Je regarde nos parents qui t'ont accompagné avec tout leur amour jusqu'à ces derniers jours.
I look at my daughter, 9, and I already regret that you can't open her eyes to the world in a way only you could have. I look at your family, Rachel, Eliza, Enora, and Lucien. I know how much they miss you. I also know the anger and injustice you felt from having to leave them so soon. I look at our parents who accompanied you with all their love until these last days.
Je t'embrasse, mon frère. Tu nous manques déjà.
I embrace you, my brother. We already miss you.
At this time, I invite any of you who have a story or a memory to come up and share that with us.
I've enjoyed learning more about Denis and his rich and loving life. I'm sorry that I never had the pleasure to meet Denis, but I work a bit with Rachel. I believe that art can save the world, and it was an honor for me to communicate with Denis by email. I communicated with him by email and learned more about his work, photographing and bringing attention to something most of us hardly notice and then throw away: food scraps. I was so happy to include his work in an email newsletter I shared with my stakeholders. Thank you, Denis, for your artist's eye and reminder to value even the little things. My sincere sympathy to Rachel, her family, and all of Denis' family and friends.
Once you've spoken, you can light a candle.
I've always gone out of my way to be neighborly with my neighbors. Friendship, that's something special. And my family sit in a very unique position as to that. Denis and Rachel and their family moved in right next door to us in our silly little suburban Broomfield. So it was a sweet spot. Denis and I, oddly enough, a couple of suburban dads, a couple of guys starting with a wave at the mailbox, and then we're sharing tools, working on each other's cars, throwing things at each other over the fence. A true great friendship. And at some point he walked over and said, "You gonna do anything with that motorcycle sitting in your yard?" "Yes, I'm gonna buy another one, but we'll do something with that." He and I quickly bonded on this idea of traveling through the West in the mountains and rugged areas, together on motorcycles, and pursuing our arts, myself as a musician and a field recorder, and he obviously with his phenomenal photography. So we started coalescing around an idea to go make a film, and we did a lot of prep work. We spent not enough time out in the field. I've shot a lot of footage, a lot of video. It's languishing, and I know now I have to bring it out of the archives. I have here just a few minutes of little scraps of our time. It's of Denis out riding together from mostly this one long venture we took together. I know Rachel's probably not seen any of this. And I removed all the dialogue. There's a little music to accompany. You see Denis smiling a lot. We couldn't stop. We laughed and smiled constantly. And it was the sweet spot. Two guys in the woods on motorcycles. Everything was fun. I mean, it really was, and I'm going to miss him dearly. He'd become one of my dearest friends and a great friend to our family. So enjoy this short, hastily thrown together video montage, and so good to see all of you here. Denis would be so happy.
Drifting, we're on a sea of forgotten teardrops, on a lifeboat we're sailing for. Your love sailing home. Drifting on a sea of old heartbreak, on a lifeboat sailing for your love, sailing home. Just a perfect day, gray light in the park. When it gets dark, we go home. Just a perfect day, animals in the zoo. Later, a movie too, and then home. Oh, it's such a perfect day. I'm glad I spent it with you. Such a perfect day. You just keep me hanging on. Keep me hanging on. What a perfect day. Problems all left alone. Weekenders on our own. Such fun. Just a perfect day. Made me forget myself. I thought I was someone else, someone good. It's such a perfect day. I'm glad I spent it with you. Such a perfect day. You just keep me hanging on. Keep me hanging on. Oh, it's such a perfect day. I'm glad I spent it with you. Such a perfect day. Will you just keep me hanging on? Keep me hanging on.
Hi, my name is Sky. I had the distinct pleasure of studying under Denis at Metro State, and I can truly say that he was one of a handful of professors that I had that truly shaped not only my creative practice and my art, but who I am as a person today. He instilled a love of tintype photography that I still practice. He always showed up to class with passion and vigor, and no matter how many jokes I made about his accent, he always took it in stride with a smile. One of the greatest compliments I think I received in my tenure at school was one of the projects I did. Denis said that he wished he had come up with the idea, which is something that truly touched me. He was an amazing artist and an amazing person. I think he touched the lives of every one of his students. And I'm so glad to have met him and to be able to study under him. He became so much more than just a professor to me. He was also a friend and a mentor. We bonded over things like motorcycles. I had the same motorcycle as him for a time, and obviously photography. He will be dearly missed. He was a truly beautiful person. Thank you.
A couple of summers ago, I was lucky enough to accompany Denis to the Boundary Waters. If you're not familiar with the Boundary Waters, it's a protected wilderness area in northern Minnesota that stretches up into Canada. And in order to go to this place, you need a special permit. It requires planning. And our family had been talking about making this trip for a long time, and it was Denis who put it together. And so it's a pretty rough area. Basically, you get dropped off along the side of the road with your canoes, your gear pack, all your cooking, your food, your tents, everything you have to carry with you. And there's a series of lakes and streams that sometimes to get from one place to another, you need to do what's called a portage. So you have to get out, you carry your canoe, you carry all your stuff. So it's really, a great place. And as you can imagine, being in a place like that, you learn a lot about the people you go with. And the first thing I noticed about Denis was that your drinking water actually comes from the lake. And we went in the early summer, and we had no idea, but in the early summer, the mosquitoes have their larvae in the water. And so most of us were pretty scared of this, and we found every way we could to avoid it. We had coffee filters. We tried to, filter out all the larvae. It didn't bother Denis at all. He just, it just was remarkable to me. And I just could really tell that, he loved nature, and he just had unending patience. On our second day there, our outfitter had planned a day trip around this loop of like 5 or 6 lakes, and in between each one was a portage. The first 2 portages were just grueling, probably a mile. It was rough terrain, muddy. At a certain point, one group of us decided to go back, and the other one pushed forward. And so me and my brother Dan and Denis, we completed the loop. We reached a point where there had been a forest fire several years earlier. So there were just downed trees. It was just, devastated area. So we couldn't find the trail for the portage. And so we went to the best idea where we thought it was based on the map. And we started walking in, and we got to a point where we realized we were not on the trail. And there were just downed trees everywhere, crisscrossed around. The canoe was super heavy, and I began to get very frustrated. I was losing my cool. Denis was just, cool as a cucumber. So we eventually made our way down to the water, and, I was just so frustrated. And on the way back to the campsite, the wind was blowing straight in our face. And I was just so tired and devastated. And Denis laughed at the end of it. He said, "Ben, I've never seen you lose your cool like that." And so I don't know. It really revealed to me about his character, how patient he was, and how much he just loved being in that wilderness area. So I just wanted to share that story.
I'm Barry, Rachel's father. When Denis and Rachel were married, we said, we haven't lost a daughter. We have gained a son. Joseph and Madeleine, thank you. Merci. You gave us a wonderful son. We will always cherish him, cherish the beautiful family that he and Rachel gave us. We will cherish his artistic works, which hang in almost every Wilson home. We will cherish his spirit and his appreciation of beauty. Thank you.
Hi. I too was one of Denis' neighbors, and I'm somebody who is able to be home every day, and just being there, I saw Denis practically every day, and quite often just would go over and see what he was doing. It was awesome to see Joe's thing because I watched him build a lot of that, hearing the saws run and the various things. One time, lucky enough to have Denis have a creative spurt that had him come over and try out his process on me. It was great to share such a love for creativity, and still being a bunch older than Denis, he really put some thoughts into my head that will forever kind of stick with me. And there's obviously a giant hole on our street, but seeing all this love here, I know that it'll fill up, and in time, we'll all move forward. Thank you, Denis. It was good to know you, and Rachel, it's awesome to know you as well and be able to share life with you.
I am also one of Denis' former students, and I have this terrible habit of not telling people how much they mean to me. And I have this list on the back of my door of names of the people who have inspired me on an unbelievable level. And I never can bring myself to tell them how I feel. At the top of that list is Denis. And I know that I didn't have the same relationship with him as some of the other students that are here tonight. But they were like family to him, and he knew how much you guys loved him. Jordan and Kelly, Kelsey, Blair, Sky, Chris, Carly, he knew so much how much we loved him. And I think all of my lucky stars that I had that class with you guys and with him, because you guys are some of my favorite people. So thanks, Denis. You're always looking out for us and giving us the best people in our life.
My name is Seth. I was one of Denis' co-conspirators in the Iowa City area when he lived in Coralville. If he was going to do something questionable, I usually got the call, which I was grateful. Denis, incredible person, always shared of himself, always displayed love towards everyone, patience for everyone, and he could even tolerate me, and I'm incredibly grateful. Thank you.
I'm Mike, one of Denis' brother-in-laws. Just wanted to share a couple stories that'll stick with me as well. With Ben from the Boundary Waters. If anyone knew me at the time, I was about 50 pounds heavier. Not an outdoor person, did not want to go, but I'm very happy I did. I knew I'd have memories for life, and I'm glad I did go. As Ben said, you learn a lot about the people you go with. First night, I think I learned my brother Dan snores like a bear. So I decided, hey, it's a beautiful night out. I'm going to go out. I'll just sleep outside under the stars. It was the middle of the night, beautiful night out. When I went outside my tent, lo and behold, there was Denis. Denis was out. He had some of his equipment, trying to take some nature pictures. So, I got to chat with Denis for a little bit before I got to sleep underneath the stars. Another story, one of the lunches we got packed peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And if you know Denis, he did not like peanut butter, and he had never had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich at that point. Rather than going hungry, he decided he would have his first, and I believe it was probably his last, peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Thankfully, Ben actually got a moment, or a picture of that. I have it as my Facebook profile. I'm holding up my peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I think we're saying something silly about marking this time for the peanut butter and jelly. So, miss Denis with all my heart, and I love you, Rachel, Eliza, Lenora, Lucian, and love you all for being here. Thank you.
My name is Carol McCumber, and closer. And I want to tell you the story because it's so charming. My husband was going to teach a physics class one summer. And, not too many students want to take physics in the summer, but he came home and he was so pleased. He said, "This is going to be an interesting class." He said, "I have students who need to be paired up for, demonstrations or experiments or whatever they were doing." Anyhow, he said there's this one French student, and then there's one American girl who is a chemistry student. He said, "I think they're the most interesting students in my class, and I thought I'd put them together." Well, then at some point, Denis learned that I was doing photography, and he told me that he was really interested in photography. And I said, "Oh, well, so show me what you've got." And he did. And I thought, well, you have a very interesting point of view. There was a competitive show coming up in Cedar Falls, the town in which we lived. And I said, "Why don't you see if you can get into the show?" And he did. And he walked away with first prize. And I said, "Denis, let the pictures show the way." And he decided to, soon after that, I think they went to, well, I don't know the time frame, it seems to have escaped me, but at some point he went to the University of Iowa, and as you know, he did get a degree in photography. Kent and I really were charmed by Rachel and Denis. It's very easy to fall in love with them, as you all know. And so we've had kind of a loose link for many, many years. And I just did want to share that little story with you. Oh, one other thing. When I came and visited Denis not too long ago, he said, "I am a city boy." And, and then he told me that he was out there stumbling along the roadside in Colorado, taking pictures of flatirons, not exactly knowing what it was he was going to step on. And I thought, this is a true photographer. He is so intense and so interested in everything. Well, it has been a joy to know the Roussel family, and I'm sure you all agree.
Hi, my name's Scott. I'm also a former student of Denis. And I kind of just wanted to take a second and talk about kind of the magic of Denis' photography. Up until the point that I took Denis' class, I always sort of believed that photography came in a branded box, that it came from Kodak or Fuji or Nikon or Canon. And then after studying with Denis, I sort of saw the magic of it all. In my mind, he almost stands up as like a magician or an alchemist. He took the elements of nature, embedded them at his will to create images of beauty. Taking fruit juices, plastic bottles, cardboard, and turning them into these magical images. It was almost unreal. Nearly every photographer I've talked to and every photography teacher I've studied under has talked about photography being the art of magic, making images appear on paper, But with Denis, it was really the first time that I truly felt that magic, seeing this man take nature and just really display it out for the world to see. So he'll be missed, and I think we'll all remember him for the magician he was. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'll get mad at myself if I didn't get up and give a nod to Denny. We have a big community of alt photography enthusiasts here that Denny was part of our family. You can see with the students that just spoke, Denny was what I see in life. There's two major kind of people. There are givers and there are takers. And Denny was a giver with a project we just finished with this in Artwork Network here. It was called Critical Mass. That was it was a project called 200 Curators for $200, where people would jury the work from all over the world, and the top 50 were selected. And Denny was adamant to bring that to Denver and showcase it here at Artwork Network. And that was the last project we worked tightly together and took down the show just a few months ago of sending that off. So I would like to personally carry on in his name a workshop or a teaching of some time through one of the institutions to carry on in his name a teaching workshop of alternative process and exploring, because he was an explorer, as we've all seen. And I hope we can carry that memory on through exploring ourselves and taking that road less traveled that Denny taught us. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Alan Kircher, and I'm the gallery owner, and I want to thank everyone for coming today and celebrating Denny's life. It's great to see everybody here, and a nice day to just celebrate, his life and things that we remember about Denny. And Denny, just a quick story for me, is he rented a studio here, plus he was one of our artists for a long time. And the Denny I knew always had two little girls at his leg, always walking, and they'd be holding onto his leg, and they were so shy, and they would come with him everywhere. And Denny would be here doing his photography, and one of the things he used to love to do was he'd set up a fish house in his studio downstairs, and it was his dark room. And I would check in on him once in a while, and I'd say, "Hey, Denny, do you catch anything?" And then he'd laugh. So anyway, quick story. We love Denny and celebrate his memory, and thank you guys for coming today.
I think one of my favorite things about knowing Denis was when you would end up going to the Wilson Roussel household, you always got to see what he was up to. So he would take you down into his mad laboratory in the basement, and you could see all of these 150-year-old cameras that he had been refurbishing, or a new lens that he bought, or sometimes it was just some modification he had made to his motorcycle. But I think that was always my favorite part of going to the house, was seeing what Denis was up to. I think the last time I was there, he had recently bought this large format camera, and it was missing the film holder, or the paper holder. And he had spent, he showed me this wooden thing that he had made. It was all made out of plywood, and it was painted black, and he had Velcroed some things on there. And he said, yeah, it worked okay, but I've got another version that I'm working on. And he brought the other version out, and I said, okay, well, that's pretty cool, so what are you going to do? And he kind of explained all the new modifications he was making to make the film, or to make the picture turn out better. I said, okay, well, so how long did this take you? Oh, probably about a week. You know, like he had literally worked on the film holder for hours a day for many days because he was carving things out by hand. It's like, you know, you need to get some better tools. But, and I joked, I laughed at him in a way, but in reality I was completely in awe and a little jealous that this passion had taken him to the point where he could carve out of plywood a film holder that he was going to use to make the art that we all hang on our walls. And I wish that in many ways that I had that same drive for my own pursuits. So I have always really admired Denis and his pursuits, his art, and I also admire him as a father. We just recently had a daughter of our own, and I can honestly say that Denis has been a great role model for how to be a father, and just seeing how the Eliza and Enora and Lucien have turned out, or are turning out. He has been a role model for me. So,
about 12 years ago, I was happily miserable in New York City, working as a creative director and having a wonderful 3-hour commute every day. And one day I was at work and I got an email that Denis and Rachel were moving back to the United States and they needed help finding work. And so I kind of slacked off for an hour and went on Craigslist in Iowa and tried to find jobs that might be appropriate. And I found a job at a college in Iowa, a professor of art. They were looking for someone, and I emailed Denis and I sent him a link and I said, Denis, you should apply for this. And he emailed me back and he said, no, I think this would be the perfect job for you. Now think about that. Here's a man who has a daughter. They're moving back to the States. He needs a job. If he would have applied, he would have gotten a job, I have no doubt. He said, no, this would be the perfect job for you. And with that one selfless act, he kind of triggered something in me, and I realized maybe he's right. And I ended up moving back, and I applied for the job, and I got the job, and I can't imagine what my life would be like had he not emailed that one sentence to me that triggered so much and changed my life in so many ways. So sometimes, I've done a lot of stupid things in my life. So, you lie awake at night and you wonder, what have I done for others that it's going to make a difference, change their life? Denis changed my life, and he's one of the handful of people in my life who one nudge can change an entire life. So thank you, Denis, and I promise you I'll pay it forward.
So at this point, I'd like to invite Hamida, who will share a memory and discuss Denis' fellowship opportunity.
I was really lucky to meet Denis through the Center for Fine Art Photography. I was very touched and moved by his work and was able to sit down with him and talk to him about it at length. And then was so moved that we decided to do a show of his work at the center. And his joy and passion for photography was remarkable. And working with him and the ideas that he kept coming back with, he would say, well, can I do this? I'd say, sure, of course. what about this? And he came back and he just put together this incredible show. It was well received, and I still think about all that, the time that we spent together working. When I heard about his passing, I was talking to some friends who knew Denis and knew his work, and they suggested that the center do something in terms of his legacy as an artist and as a person. And so we talked, I think many of you know Gail Stevens. She was the one that I was talking with, and she suggested that the center do something. And I sort of hesitated because I wasn't sure if we were the right organization to do it. I know a lot of people knew him much better than I did. But the more we thought about it and talked about what he would have wanted, I decided to reach out to Rachel, and I felt very nervous about it because I didn't know if it was the right thing to do or not, but Rachel was really welcoming and supportive. The idea that we had was to honor his legacy in terms of his artistic talent and passion, his teaching and mentoring skills. And so what we've talked about, and it's still in a rough idea, but we would establish a fund that would fund this legacy for at least the first 3 years, and that we would have a fellowship, so the Denis Roussel Fellowship, and that there would be funds available to an artist to be able to continue their work. And also we would bring people in from the industry to mentor that artist and to foster their career. So we would put together a group of people depending on which artist is chosen and what kind of mentoring they needed. And so that's where we are right now with it. There's information on the back of your memorial that you were given when you walked in. And we'll be setting up a team of people to work on it so that his legacy is carried forward in the artistic world and in a way that honors his spirit. So thank you. Thank you for being open, and it touches me to be able to be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. The divine spark Denis has lit in each of our hearts remains with us. It lives on in our deeds, our thoughts, and our creativity. Now, to symbolize this, his family will come forth and light a final candle for Denis. Father, husband, teacher, artist, adventurer. Denis' family would like to express profound thanks and gratitude to all of you who helped support them during this difficult time. Whether that support was through the cards you sent with messages of love, preparing a hearty homemade meal, or contributing financial support, it was all received with heartfelt gratitude and appreciation. Caring for Denis in his last weeks was a full-time job, and Rachel could not have been his primary caregiver without the incredible support from her supervisor, colleagues, and team at the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. They all took on additional work tasks and ensured that Rachel could focus on enjoying small moments that remained with Denis. The gift of time is one of the most precious gifts of all, and for that she is forever thankful. The family would also like to extend a special thank you to Alan, Meredith, and Kelsey with Artwork Network for allowing us to hold this celebration here in their beautiful gallery space. The space housed several of Denis' shows, and for a time, Denis occupied a basement studio here as well. Alan has been a good friend to Denis over the past 10 years, and the family is grateful for all that he has done. Finally, a last note of gratitude to Mark Sink and Gary Reed for capturing and printing such a beautiful photograph of Denis. The family values your presence and appreciates that you all came today to honor and remember Denis. I hope this ceremony helped you all remember and say goodbye to Denis. What you experience knowing Denis can never be taken from you. All the more reason to smile. The journey of grief is difficult. Blessed be this moment of transition and letting go. Dr. Seuss reminds us, don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. Each of us has a legacy. The world is a different place because we were here. Now is the time for you to honor him by carrying on his legacy. Each has a responsibility of bearing the values and virtues that Denis demonstrated throughout his life. Love, kindness, creativity, and devotion to family. While Denis is no longer present in physical form, he will live on in the hearts and minds of those present. And by carrying Denis in our memory, he becomes immortal. Let us resolve to go forth from today's service inspired to live better and more fulfilled lives, thanks to Denis' example, and dedicate ourselves to the higher causes that Denis held dear. As you go forward today, life will be different. Forge a new relationship with him. As friends and family of Denis' family, thank you for being here and accompanying them in the months ahead. Remember that death ends a life, but it does not end a relationship. Be open to loving anew, not only the one who has died, but those who yet live. May you go into your day with renewed hope. His memory remains. You have a new bond with him. Release him to his rest. Be well, be good to one another, make art, enjoy the small moments, wear eccentric socks, and remember Denis. His light and his art lives on.